Hello and welcome back to another episode of Diablo to D&D. My name is David, and today we're going to be going over the creation of 5 more runewords. So, starting off with the rules for these runewords. 1, they are created by taking a non-magical item that has had sockets put into them, and then putting in these runes that are magical items that you can put into sockets to grant magical effects. Each runeword has to be the right runes in the right order, and every socket has to be filled. You can't have, say, an extra socket, or you can't have an extra socket that you fill with a gem or something like that. Each rune contributes an ability to the runeword, but in D&D, those abilities may be combined or modified based on what they create to grant some modifications. For example, Ancient's Pledge has 3 runes, but it gives you 4 resistances, and that's all combined into a single ability that cuts cold, fire, lightning, and poison damage by 1d4. Also, every runeword is legendary, regardless of the rarity of the runes or the item base. So we finished up with F's, and now we are moving on to G, and here is Gloom. Gloom is an interesting one. Other than Delirium, this is the first runeword in the alphabet that has a negative effect. It is made in body armor with a foul pull, so there's at least 1 high rune in there, and it has a lot to do with light. It has a 15% chance to cast Dim Vision on struck, or when you're struck. Dim Vision reduces the enemy's light radius, which means that they don't pull. So if you reduce their light radius, they can't see you, so you get to move away faster, or you get to move away without being harassed. Great against ranged creatures. Has some faster hit recovery, of course, some enhanced defense, strength, resistances, half freeze duration, some damage taken goes to mana, and a -3 to light radius. So it's gloom. It's kind of pulling the shadows in towards you, and you can't see as well. Now, in D&D, this is really nice. It is a +2 AC armor. That pull gives a +1, but it's bumped up to a +2 because of its defense. And then it says, when you are hit with an attack, you may have the attacker make a DC 15 Constitution saving throw. On a fail, its vision beyond 5 feet is obscured by a magical darkness only it can see. It can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its subsequent turns, ending the effect on a success. This is the Necromancer's Dim Vision ability. Except, you'll notice that this does not take an action. This is actually something that is just a passive thing that can happen. And that's because it is, I'm going a bit out of order, but this is because it is cursed. While attuned to this armor, you see in bright light as if it were dim light, which imposes disadvantage on perception checks, and dim light as if it were darkness. Remove curse or similar magic breaks your attunement to this armor. So if you have, say, dark vision, you can see in the bright light as if it were dim light, but dark vision says you can see in dim light as if it was bright light, so that's negated. Dim light as if it were darkness. Darkness is... it basically turns dim light into just a disadvantage on perception checks. But for those of us that don't have dark vision, it's a whole lot more debilitating. But that's not all this item does. You also have advantage on ability checks and saving throws against being grappled, incapacitated, stunned, or unconscious. This is kind of the damage taken goes to mana, kind of the half freeze duration, and kind of that faster hit recovery. It's kind of a mush of things. I figured I would try something new with this one, because a lot of it just is like, oh, your movement speed can't be reduced, or gaining advantage on grappled or something like that reduces movement. Because in Diablo, cold duration is based on cold damage. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I want to do something new rather than just like, oh, you have, your movement speed can't be reduced except if it's set to 0. Like, sure, but like, let's try this out. I also bumped it up made it a little bit more powerful because it is a cursed item. So next up, we have one of the, if not the best runewords in Diablo 2, Grief. It is made in axes and swords and requires an Eth tier low mal ral. This was one of the first runewords ever made, and it has never stopped being relevant. It gives you venom on striking, has a bunch of increased attack speed, gives some flat damage, a chunk of flat damage, ignores target defense, minus target defense, which one of those does not work on bosses. I think ignores target defense doesn't work on bosses, so that minus target defense is actually really good. Some damage to demons based on character level, some fire damage, poison resistance, deadly strike, prevent monster heal, some mana after each kill, and some life after each kill. Now, the reason why this runeword is amazing is because of that flat damage. Because that flat damage gets added on to the weapon, which then gets multiplied by all of the enhanced damage modifiers that you have across all of your gear. And so if you have, say, 300% enhanced damage, so if you make this in a phase blade or a berserker axe and you are a dual wielding barbarian and your offhand, I think this works. I think your offhand, no, it doesn't. Anyway, ignore that. But that flat damage just gets multiplied across any abilities that you have, any abilities or items that you have that multiply damage out. And so it becomes really, really, really powerful. So in D&D, this weapon gets a couple of changes. When you hit with a weapon attack using this weapon, the target takes an additional 2d4 damage and 1d4 fire damage. This is a modification of the Ral rune. So I took the flat damage and made it 2d4 and scooped it into that Ral rune so that when you critically strike, you get a ton more damage based on the dice that you're using. That damage to demons becomes additional damage to fiends equal to your level, so there's some pretty decent damage dealt to fiends. And you're going to be a high enough level. You're going to be really, really high level when you start getting these, so you're going to be dealing quite a bit of damage. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack roll using this weapon, the target makes a Constitution saving throw or takes some poison damage. This is the venom on striking. As I said, this section is a little more experimental because venom is a self buff. It is an assassin ability that just bumps your damage up by, well, it adds a bunch of poison damage to your weapon attacks. And in the D&D version, it just says your weapon attacks deal 1d4 damage. However, in this case, I am making a modification, making it a Constitution saving throw, and making it additional poison damage. One, because this is so strong, and also because it's an on-striking ability, so it kind of fits. However, something that is very important is that poison damage you deal ignores resistance to poison. This is that -2 enemy poison resistance. So Grief is actually really good for venom assassins, as well as things like rabies druids. Although I think they might want to go with this slightly different weapon, but rabies druids would still be pretty good. And then lastly, whenever you kill a creature, you regain 1d6 hit points. It's that life after each kill. So overall, this one's actually a pretty dang good weapon. You can make it in battle axes, great swords, long swords, and war picks, and that's a pretty decent spread of things. Next up, we are moving on to one of the 2.6 helms. This was one of 5 helms, one for every damage type except for magic, which I personally think they should do, but whatever. And this is a Shale Io Ort. This is the lightning version, and thus it is called Ground. All of them are intended to be early game runewords for your mercenary to keep them alive. Gives faster hit recovery, enhanced defense, vitality, maximum life, lightning resist, and lightning absorb. So they are. It's intended to basically negate any damage of that type coming in. Bulwark was the physical one, and Cure was the poison one. In D&D, this one, it just gives resistance to lightning, and whenever you take lightning damage, you regain 1d4 hit points. It's pretty simple, and it's just your lightning resist, lightning absorb. Basically it. Now we are going to leave the G's behind and move on to H. Hand of Justice. I mentioned this earlier because Flickering Flame gives a Holy Fire aura. So if you make it in I believe it's a shield and a body. I think it's a shield and a body. No, helm. Shield and a helm. Or is it body and helm? One of the three options there. You get the Holy Fire aura and it adds it all together. This one has a Holy Fire aura when equipped, and so bumps the level of that aura up to an insane degree. I think with all three of them equipped to Flickering Flames and Hand of Justice, it's like a level 40 or level 44 aura. It is insane. Anyway, this can be made in weapons with a Sir Cham and low, and that means it is extremely expensive to make with 3 high runes. That's Sir Cham and low. Low being the lowest one. With a 28, the Sir is only one higher with the 29, and the Cham is a 32, the second highest. Anyway, it has Blaze when you level up, Meteor when you die, huge Holy Fire aura, some increased attack speed, enhanced damage, ignores target defense, life stolen per hit, which is very handy for weapons, some chunk out of enemy fire resistance, deadly strike, hit blinds targets, and for some reason freezes target. Oh, that's what it was. The Cham rune. The Cham rune is freezes target. A bit odd considering the flavor, but I don't know. Maybe you're pulling the heat out of something and burning stuff with it. I don't know. In D&D, this is a +3 weapon, and it has a 15-foot invoke element fire, specifically aura. It is a DC 20 dexterity saving throw, and it just deals a 1d4 fire damage. But fire damage you deal ignores resistance to fire. So that means you're fighting actually, I think red dragons have like immunity, but if you're fighting, I don't actually know anything that has resistance to fire. Anyway, if you're fighting something that has resistance to fire, say, I don't know, a wormling or something, although why you'd be fighting them. You know what? A swarm of wormlings. You're fighting a swarm of red dragon wormlings, and you're getting dogpiled by them. You can ignore their resistance, and they'll take 1d4 fire damage. And then I never got the Blaze on level up because it's just kind of a weird mechanic. Like, the D&D level up and the Diablo level up are so vastly different in terms of impact. You know what? I could probably do something like you're always under the effect of Blaze or giving it charges. I will make note of that, and I will deal with that later. But I did manage to sneak in that DC 22 Meteor, which I believe there's one other item. I don't remember which one. That one also has a DC 22 Meteor. I think it's Doom. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Doom. That when you die, you also get to cast Meteor. So again, you could run up if you have a Doom and a Hand of Justice, run up, do as much damage to the boss, and then just die. And then suddenly, oh look, make 2 DC 22 dexterity saving throws. Sucks to be you. Really hope you have resurrection, party members. Please. All right, the last one is Harmony, and this one is a missile weapon that requires Tier Ith Soul Ko. So actually some pretty early game stuff. Ko is the highest with an 18, and the other ones are pretty low other than that Soul Rune. But I'm pretty sure you could find this by grinding Countess. I think she drops a Ko rune eventually. Or at least you can cube up to it. This one gives a Vigor Aura when equipped, some chunk of enhanced damage, some bonus to minimum and maximum damage, and 3 elemental damages, lightning, fire, and cold, and it gives a bonus to Valkyrie. It has some dexterity, regenerate mana, some mana after each kill, light radius, and revive. That Valkyrie is incredible because this means that you don't need to go all the way down the tree if you are an Amazon in order to get it. Now, I think you do have to have the level in order to summon it. But this does mean that every class has access to Valkyrie. It's not going to be good. And if you're an Amazon, you're going to be putting points into the tree anyway, so whatever. But it is a great way to get an early game Valkyrie, and it's a pretty decent weapon too. The Vigor aura means you're going to be moving faster. Enhanced damage is a decent chunk for an early game weapon. And this one I could see you taking into maybe early Nightmare if you really wanted to. That Revive, I probably wouldn't use it, but if you need meat shields, it's there. In D&D, however, things are changed up a bit because things always change when they switch mediums. It is a +2 weapon, and when you hit with a weapon attack using this weapon, the target takes an additional 1d4 cold damage, 1d4 fire damage, and 1d4 lightning damage. Again, this is a legendary item. You require 4 runes, so adjust your expectations accordingly. But it also does give Vigor. It has a 15-foot aura that bumps everybody's speed by 5 and gains advantage on saving throws to resist exhaustion. And that bonus to light radius, I figured, why not? Let's just try this. As an action, you can have the weapon emit bright light out to 20 feet and dim light an additional 20 feet or end the effect. So you get basically a torch that you can carry around. It's a minor thing. You have light, you have torches, you have lanterns and dark vision and all those other things. But it's a nice ribbon feature if you really need it. Unless you're a human, in which case it's going to be handy. It also does mean that you do not have to carry a torch in one hand. You can activate this light and use it. Because, ranged weapons are usually two-handed, other than the dart. Moving on, if you're an Amazon, you can use your Valkyrie ability an additional time per long rest. This is a kind of mix of regenerate mana and the bonus to Valkyrie. I kind of got weird about using Valkyrie as an ability that everyone has access to because, again, stat block. Although now that I think about that, I could just make it a monster and say you can summon one of these. That might be something. I will make a note of that. And we shall see if that is worth it. The note's been made. And I'll think about swapping that around. Now, having 25 charges of a level 20 revive does. I'm getting tired of just saying, you can bring this monster back to life and have it fight for you. And given the semi-holy or celestial intentions of this weapon, it's harmony, you have Valkyrie, it gives you light radius, it gives you vigor aura. Instead, I said that you can cast Revivify without material components. Once you use this ability, it can't be used again for 1d4 days. This, I feel, is a much better and much more flavorful version of the weapon. You are bringing back enemies, or you're bringing back allies from the dead. Kind of that, again, celestial thing. Something that Diablo doesn't have. It's not like you can bring people back from the dead because they're just going to respawn in camp anyway. So, let me know. Does this work? Does it not work? Do you like it? Not like it? What other suggestions do you have? I did have a question about whether I should make this Raise Dead with a D6 cooldown. A D6 days cooldown, but I decided to cut that back down to Revivify because it just felt better, but I could definitely see doing Raise Dead, though probably not anything higher than that, like Resurrection or True Resurrection. And that is it for today. What'd you think? I am fairly impressed with some of these. Grief is just really good. Gloom is fairly flavorful. Harmony is just, it's nice to see something different besides you can bring back dead things. I mean, it's what Revivify is, but you know what I mean. Other things that aren't your allies. And so I am going to end it here. You can contact me at XenozFan2, that is XenozFan2 on Blue Sky and Reddit. And you can contact the channel directly at Diablo TODND on Blue Sky and YouTube. Thank you much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good whatever.